I am Vikin Karagozian, the CEO of Allegro Ophthalmics. I'm going to talk today about our Luminate programs in diabetic macular edema and how it can control the oxidative stress switch in DME. A little bit about Allegro. Allegro is a late-stage biotech company located in Southern California. We're focused on the treatment of outer retinal diseases. Our lead investigational product is Risuteganib, or Luminate, is a broad-spectrum anti-integrin peptide for the treatment of diabetic macular edema, and we expect to be starting our phase 3 studies in the first half of next year. What's unique about Luminate or Risuteganib is the ability to go after all 4 pathways that underlie DME by working upstream on the oxidative stress switch. With this unique MOA, clinically what it gives you is the ability to treat the patients you can't treat right now, like the patients who respond poorly or inadequately to anti-VEGF treatments. Currently, anti-VEGF is the standard of care for DME, and about half the patient population, as was mentioned earlier today, does very well with anti-VEGFs, but about 50% of the DME population is treated inadequately despite repeated anti-VEGF treatments. Coming at this disease with a broad spectrum approach like we have can be quite complementary to the current standard of anti-VEGF care. When you look at DME, it's a complicated disease. Very many times people will just say it's fluid, and fluid in the retina, the retina is inflated and the vision is poor. But if you look at the underlying pathophysiology, it's a spectrum of disease. What ends up happening is early in the process, you have mostly VEGF-mediated disease. As the disease progresses, inflammation and neurodegeneration become more and important contributors to the disease. A very key point here is, while all the patients look the same, they don't behave the same to treatment. It depends where they are in the spectrum. When you look at the underlying pathophysiology, oxidative stress is the main starting point that drives all of this. In diabetes, you have vascular compromise and hypoxia. Hypoxia turns on oxidative stress, and you get these 4 pathways: vascular leakage, angiogenesis, inflammation, and neurodegeneration. Anti-VEGFs cover the first 2 pathways well. Steroids, despite their complications, cover inflammation well. Nothing covers neurodegeneration, and nothing covers all 4 pathways at the same time. Where Risuteganib works, where our drug works, is on the oxidative stress switch itself. By working upstream and aborting this process early on, you can mitigate all 4 pathways, including neurodegeneration. Let's back up a little bit and say, what are integrins themselves? Integrins are cell surface receptors, and they're activated in DME, for example, by hypoxia. So when the retina becomes hypoxic, the integrin receptors that we're targeting are activated, and the integrin receptors turn on the oxidative stress response of the retina. If you can control this switch, you can abort the oxidative stress response and control all 4 pathways. Integrins are not new. They've been in the medical literature for about 30 years. Many people don't realize there are 6 FDA-approved anti-integrin drugs on the market. One in ophthalmology is Xiidra, which was approved a couple of years ago. When we focus on the subclass of integrins we're targeting, these RGD subclasses, there are 4 integrin pairs that are very closely associated with outer retinal oxidative stress. Our drug, Luminate, is very interesting. It's a very small synthetic peptide, about 1% the size of an anti-VEGF drug, and it accumulates in the outer retina and RPE, where these integrin receptors are turned on under hypoxic conditions. So it goes right to where the problem is, because the integrin receptors are modulating the problem. Let's turn our attention to our phase 2 clinical programs. To date, we've done 2 US phase 2 DME studies in a total of 216 patients, shown the drug is quite safe. We've done dose ranging and found 1 milligram as the best dose. The drug lasts 12 weeks after loading, and we've shown that it can go toe-to-toe with anti-VEGF by itself. This is not the whole picture, however. When you turn your attention back to this spectrum, each individual patient, whether it's in your clinic or in your clinical trial, will behave a little differently depending where they are in the spectrum. And you'll see the data is borne out that way as well. When you look at the 2 arms that we're planning on taking into phase 3 in DME, when you look at all patients together, the visual acuity for Avastin and 1 milligram Luminate's about the same. However, when you look at the treatment-naive patients, they're on the left side of the spectrum. They're going to have mostly a VEGF-mediated disease, and anti-VEGF Avastin works pretty well, which is the middle column. When you look at the patients who've already had 12 prior anti-VEGF injections on average, presumably if they're still not seeing well and have poor anatomy despite 12 injections, they're probably being driven mostly by the inflammation and neurodegeneration. When you have a drug such as ours that can target all 4 of these pathways, including neurodegeneration, you get a further benefit in these patients' visual acuity. At this point in time, we're gearing up towards our phase 3 programs in DME. We plan to have a very similar study design to our phase 2s with the same target population, similar study design, and similar endpoints. Given that this drug also targets, as we said, inflammation and neurodegeneration, and inflammation is directly the complement 3 receptor, we also have phase 2 studies ongoing in the US for dry AMD that'll read out in the middle of next year. In summary, with Risuteganib or Illuminate, we bring a novel mechanism of action that works on the oxidative stress switch. With a broad mechanism of action that goes after all 4 pathways, you have the ability to treat the anti-VEGF poor responders. The drug at this point in time has been given in close to 1,200 human intravitreal injections across 370 unique patients. And again, we plan to start our phase 3s the first half of next year.